Most people don't understand how construction projects actually come together in land development. A lot of people might understand one aspect of it or one trade of it all, but to see how everything comes together in one sequential order is a lot more challenging, a lot more difficult. To be honest, I had a very hard time too when I was starting out, especially with the company I started out with. It was a big home building company, and I was in the land development department. And when I jumped in, I was really thrown into the fire. We had projects that were already going, so I was picking up projects that were halfway through. I had projects that were ending, and then projects that were just starting off. And my head was completely lost. And I wish I had something like this to help me out in a step-by-step process. So I want to break this down in a really simple way. So the land development trades are the building blocks of the construction, and they all have to go in a sequential order, or else things are going to go wrong and things are going to go expensive very fast for your project. So you have to make sure that everything is lining up sequentially and you're planning ahead in order for you to have a successful project. For instance, here's a couple examples of what might happen if your building blocks and the sequence of your land development process gets out of order. For instance, if you look at the top left here, the rough grading is usually is what goes in first, is what happens first, and then it's followed by the wet utilities. Now, the reason for that being is that if you got to cut and fill and bring up to a new elevation in order to get enough cover over your wet utilities, well, if you get that backwards and you get the wet utilities in, then it might be too shallow, and something like this could happen where the scraper runs by and actually runs in and tears up where those wet utilities have been placed. And looking at this middle picture here, the paving usually happens after all the utilities in the underground is in, which makes sense because you don't want to be tearing through your freshly new paved asphalt in order to place new pipe. It's counterintuitive and it's backwards. Even here on the right side, talking about the wet utilities in itself, usually the sewer is the deepest utility, and we've talked about that in other projects, in other videos. And again, it makes sense that obviously you're starting from the deepest utility and you're working your way up because you don't want to dig past other utilities. So in this example here, you have the sewer, the water that was already installed, and then you have the sewer, them trying to install the sewer underneath it. Again, just causes so much issues and headache unnecessarily. Here is another example on the bottom left here. If you have dry utilities going through after the landscape and the irrigation is done, that's a big no-no. Usually the landscaping and the irrigation is put in at the very final step because you don't want things like this happening where dry utilities or anything else is going underground and tearing through that. It's not good. Now, of course, there's always going to be exceptions within land development as we follow this sequential order, but you have to know why things are put in the sequence because then once you understand that, then you can start thinking outside the box or understanding why things sometimes do have to go out of order. And like I said, there's always an exceptions, but you have to learn the basics first. Now, another reason you really need to understand the sequencing of the building blocks of the land development and scheduling ahead of time is also for efficiency's sake. So it's very critical that you understand the sequencing and the order of it, but by scheduling and understanding that, it's going to help you be much more efficient and effective. And because again, in this business with the land development and the home building, it's all about how quickly can you get your project done so you can start selling the lots or selling the houses and start making your money back. Those who don't plan efficiently or don't truly understand this process, again, it gets really expensive, not just because of mistakes, but because of the extension of time of how long your project is taking. The land development process should only take maybe 6 months, depending on how big it is, 8 months or whatever it is, but you don't plan effectively or you don't truly understand the sequencing, then that can really drag on for a lot longer and you start getting to a point where you start losing money. So again, for efficiency's sake, it's critical. And so here's just a small example I did for a project simulation for my new land development course actually, and I'll put the link below. But you can see here that I have everything listed on the left side for this small example, and this is the duration of all the tasks and how they're all linked together. Now, typically for the land development, for the trades, which are rough grading, wet utilities, paving, dry utilities, right? Everything underground up to the paving. Now, typically that happens in a linear fashion. There could be some overlap there, but usually that's pretty cut and dry as far as boom, boom, boom. One's done, go to the wet utilities, then paving, and then dry utilities. But it's the dry utilities, I'm sorry, the finished trades, and let me go back to that picture here. This one right here, these examples. So really, like I said, the rough grading, wet utility streets, and dry utilities are the undergrounds, and that's the core land development trades. But the finished trades, which are the finished grading, walls and fencing, flat work, and landscaping and irrigation. Now that somewhat happens linear as well, but that's when we start getting to a point where all of those tasks can start happening, maybe where there's just open windows in the schedule. So it can get kind of confusing, and complicated. But again, if you understand those building blocks, you can know when they go in, when they can go in, and when they can start overlapping. So as I mentioned here in the beginning trades, we have. Let me zoom in a little bit. And again, this is just to show you, give you an idea of how schedules are looking like. You got the site grading, followed by the sewer, and we got on-site, off-site sewer, a storm drain main line here. But then as we start getting here, we start getting to more of the finished trades, and this is where things can start overlapping with the model home construction. Street lights are getting installed. So again, it's just it can be kind of confusing, but as we're planning it out, it helps you become plan ahead and be much more efficient. So like we said, you're not um, running into expensive mistakes. The schedule's not dragging on longer than it should. So let me give you a brief overview with some good examples here as we walk through this simulation development project that I created. As we mentioned here, so this represents the simulation, the proposed community, and then over here is a cross-sectional view. So basically, this is like you're looking at a plan view from the bird's eye view at the top, and then in here is the cross-section view as if you're standing. You see where this number A is, I'm sorry, this letter A, and then the arrow, meaning you're standing in the street and you're looking this way, and this is your perspective. But as we mentioned, so rough grading has to happen first, and once the grading is done, and you can see that from this view, where this is the natural terrain and it's not even, of course, but then as it gets graded, then they kind of grade out the subgrade for the streets, the elevation for the blue top elevations for the lots on each side. And then once you have that, then you have the wet utilities going in, the sewer, the water, the storm drain, right? And then um, this is the dry utility crossings, which is the red. And then as we keep going here, now, once all the undergrounds get in, and you can see just again how much of a mess this is underground, it becomes a bunch of, it looks like a bunch of spaghetti just underneath because there's so many utilities that go under. And as we mentioned, once all that's in, then it's the time to do the paving because now you're capping the streets and you shouldn't be going underground anymore. But here's one of the things I wanted to bring up. So now as we finish the land development side, the undergrounds, now we're starting to shift to more of the finished trades. And so here, if you take a look, so I mentioned the dry utilities, which this is just the dry utility crossings, but now it's paved, and usually the dry utilities run behind the curb and gutter. And so the dry utilities go in, but once they go in, the dry utility sub typically they're not really responsible for um, taking care of dirt and hauling off dirt, right? So when they install all the utilities behind the curb, as it shows right here and illustrates here, so this is, we'll call it the joint trench, which is the cluster of the dry utilities, which is um, could be TV, telecom, right, and then maybe even gas on the top, right? But then once they backfill, there's going to be excess spoils, right? And there's always going to be excess spoils anytime there's a subcontractor that's going and getting into and digging into the ground. So what they do, they just throw all the remaining dirt back on top of the trench, and then it usually looks like this. So it just becomes a big mound of dirt just sitting behind the curb and gutter. So now that's the time that you want to send in the finished grader. The finished grader will go in there and then he'll clean it up. So at the same time he's pulling off that dirt and getting rid of those dry utility spoils, he's also going to be grading up to the subgrade elevation level, and which will prepare the flatwork sub or whoever's going to be installing the sidewalk behind that curb and gutter to do it. But at the same time, you want to be as efficient as possible. So while the finished grader is out there doing that and grading behind the curb and gutter for the sidewalk, you also want him to take care of any of the common area landscaping and this basin here, right? So he needs to clean that up because, as I mentioned, anytime a contractor is digging into the ground, it just completely messes up everything, and then there's dirt everywhere. Because again, they don't care about it. They just care about getting the utilities in the ground. So the fine grader will go in and clean that up right after that, because you can see here this represents the storm drain catch basin, which again would have made a mess. So like I said, finished grader goes in once that's all done. He cleans up everything really nicely, And then now that that's done, you can start getting into now maybe the walls. In this case, there's going to be perimeter walls and maybe a fencing around the basin. And that has to be done before you start getting to um, landscaping and irrigation, which is now shown here by all these plants around there, right? Because if you had the landscaping going in before the walls were done, look how close all this stuff is. Now, if you had the walls go in first, I'm sorry, if you had the landscaping going first and then the walls guys go in, because they also have to dig for their footings. So they would have just made a complete mess of all this freshly new irrigation and plants, these fresh new plants and the beautiful landscaping, and they would have made just a huge mess. So that's where they had to be very, you have to be very efficient and be very careful when those trays are going in so they're not on top of each other. But again, you have to do it in a very sequential order. And then as we start getting to that, simultaneously, they can also start doing building the houses, which this could even start a little sooner. Really, that the only thing that's hinged upon the model home starting is really the paving. Um, but again, by the planning, we can start seeing that as we showed earlier here. We can start seeing when the model's construction can start, and we have that linked to when the paving is done. But while the model home construction is going, like I said, we can be efficient. So maybe while all this stuff, the finished grader and the landscaper is working on this common area, working on this basin, right? Because they also need to, you also want to beautify your entryway, your marketing corridor, that when the models do open up, that it's a good selling point for potential home buyers that are coming to visit the site and take a look at the models. Um, so the models can come in, and then usually all that happens in phases. So you can have the models as well as phase one, and same thing. The flat work in the landscape is finished with those homes. And as you start progressing, you can start progressing with your phases. Phase two, phase three, which is followed by flat work landscaping, and then phase four and phase five. Now, one other thing to keep in mind of why it's so important to understand the sequencing, but also, again, thinking ahead and getting your schedule together, is long lead items. So if you can understand again where your long lead items are too, that'll help you get in front of the game, in front of the schedule so much more efficiently and so much more quicker. For instance, your dry utility contractor, there could be long lead items with the electrical transformers. During the pandemic of 2020, it wasn't unheard of that sometimes these transformers took 52 weeks to get, which is crazy. Streetlights sometimes might be out for 3 to 6 months or whatever it might be. For the wet utilities, certain valves, gate valves or butterfly valves or whatever, if they're a specialty item, those might be long lead items as well. If your community requires a pump station, like I said, there could be so many things that require that are a long lead item. For instance, in this example here, we had a long lead item that looks like it's taken 15 weeks, right? But by knowing that, you can do that right from the get-go of once your project kicks off. You can get that clock ticking so you are ready for it, and it's not going to be a surprise when you get to it and you say, "Hey, okay, we're ready for this trade. Let's get them out here." And then they call and say, "Oh, hey, no, but we don't have all the material yet." And then you're just kind of left sitting there and you're wasting time again because then they order it and then that's when you're waiting 15 weeks or whatever it is for them to get the material when you could have done that from the very beginning, right? So long lead items is another crucial thing that you have to have in mind when you're putting your schedule together and you're sequencing your events. So again, the biggest mistake I see in land development is people not understanding, again, the sequencing of construction from start to finish in the land development process, and they don't understand those building blocks. And this was more of a brief, high-level overview, but if you want something more in depth, then I just finished launching my online course called Mastering Construction Sequencing in Land Development. So be sure to check that out. I have the link below. And I have a special promo price going on, so time is limited. So hurry up and jump on it before the price goes up. But again, I walk you through this and we go through some land development simulation examples like you've seen here. Again, we go through in a lot more depth and a lot more detail. So be sure to check it out, and I'll see you there.